Hi, I'm April.
And I'm Bailey.
We are real-life friends and neighbors.
Together we run a business called marginalized Designs.
Our favorite part of our job is being in people's homes and hearing their stories. As we became inspired by these stories, we wanted to share them with others. That's where the Nestled podcast was born.
So join us each week as we are encouraged to pursue our own design decisions based on what we love instead of what fills our Instagram feed. Every home has a story, and we can't wait to hear yours. Hey guys!
Hey, welcome back.
Welcome back. We hope everybody has had a great weekend and beginning of their week. We both had really good weekends.
We did. So what did you do this weekend?
We celebrated my brother and his wife. They're going to have a new baby. We have 2 new babies coming in our family, the first 2 grandsons.
Yes.
So we are so excited and cannot wait to meet baby Bo.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah.
We went camping. And we laughed because all weekend, Lance, who really loves Justin Timberlake, kept saying he's a man of the woods. It's his pride. And he kept saying that over and over. Well, this morning I said, Lance, it is more obvious than ever that I am not a woman of the woods because I woke up with a giant fever blister on my face. My eye is infected. And it's just like I'm not made for the outdoors.
But you tried.
I do it.
Yeah.
And we always have fond memories. But don't let the pictures fool you.
Yeah.
It is not only fun happening in the woods.
Right. Oh, goodness. Okay, so outside of that, what are you thankful for this week?
Something very opposite of the woods.
Right.
I have been wanting a new spring handbag, and we were at the dollar spot at Target of all places, and they had these cute little bags. They're like fake leather. But anyway, they had one that's like a blush pink, and it was $7.
So cute.
And it's perfect for the spring, a little pop of color, and I don't even feel bad if it, like, gets ruined, then I'll throw it away. It was
Right.
$7.
We bought one for a friend, too.
We did. We bought her a navy one, because they literally had 3 colors, and they only had one of each color.
Yeah.
We
bought
left
her.
one.
We left one, but then the lady at the checkout counter was going to go get it, I think.
So it was gone.
It was gone. So if you're in Mobile, sorry, maybe they'll get more.
Maybe they're going to get some more.
Okay, what I'm thankful for this week is, I may have talked about it before. If I haven't, we'll talk more later. We're finally about to get furniture that works in our living room, which, like, I've been so patient. It's been an entire year that I've dealt with furniture that doesn't work in my space. And so we finally are going to have some money that we can switch things around. And I wanted a sectional. We figured out the sectional wasn't going to fit, and I was going to need a few chairs. And that day, my husband happened to be working at a rummage sale for our local children's home, and he got me a rocking chair, and I love it.
It is so cute.
It's so perfect for the space, and it's got a cane back, which I kept saying I wanted cane back dining chairs, which he didn't want. So now he found me a cane back rocking chair.
But that doesn't, like, scratch the itch, though, does it? You still want the dining chairs.
But, so, yeah.
But
that's
thanks
okay.
anyway. It's really great.
Yes, it's wonderful. And I'm so glad that he knows what I like. So,
yes,
that $20 fine was worth every penny.
Perfect.
So today on our podcast, you're going to get to hear from Leslie Spencer. And we met Leslie, well, actually, this is the first time we met Leslie. I found Leslie on Instagram years ago. I share that in the podcast. Whenever we were matched with our daughter, Maisie, for adoption, she has achondroplasia. Leslie has a daughter who also has achondroplasia. And she was the first Instagram account we found of a family who was dealing with this diagnosis. And their family life looked so much fun and so, for lack of a better term, normal, that we kind of looked at each other and said, yep, we got this.
Yeah.
And so I'm so thankful for Leslie and the way she inspired us and helped us say yes, and the way that she just continues to change people's perception of what is normal and what is different. And we think that you guys are going to love hearing all about her and her style and her home and her heart for the home.
Yes.
So here's Leslie. Hey, Leslie, how are you?
Hi, good. How are you?
We're good. Thank you for joining us today. Could you tell us a little about yourself and your family?
Sure. Let's see. I met my husband when I was 5. We have been together 21 years. We've been married for 15. We have a son who is 7 and a daughter who is 5. We are originally from the Midwest, but now we call Southern California home, and we will forever.
Okay, so I have so many questions going off of that because we don't know each other. I didn't know any of these things that you just said.
Right.
Okay, so y'all met when you're 5. When did you actually get together?
We went on a date when I was 15, and I thought he was a jerk and it didn't work out. And then we went on another date a year later when I was 16, and we've been together ever since.
I love that.
That's awesome.
My husband and I started dating when we were juniors in high school too, and we did 6 years and then got married. So
Same, 6 years, yeah.
Which seemed like we waited forever, right? But then I look back, I'm like, well, we were babies.
I know.
Yeah.
So what brought you to Southern California?
Well, let's see. I'm always up for an adventure, and I love moving around. And we came out here to visit, and we were like, wow, this is a really nice place. Can you imagine waking up to flowers year-round and sunshine and not have to shovel your driveway? That's crazy. And we went out to visit my brother, who had just moved here, literally graduated from college, packed up his car with no job, no home, and moved here. So we were visiting him. And my husband happened to have an interview out here on our spring break to visit him, and he got the job. And so it literally went from like, hey, we're on spring break to, hey, we're moving here in a week. It was nuts. It's like, okay. But the thing is he moved here the week later, and then I had to sell a house back home. And so I didn't move for another 8 months. So that was crazy. It was married, but yet not. When I moved out here, we'd only seen each other 11 days in that 8 months. And I was like,
oh my gosh.
Husband, like, let's get to know each other.
Oh, y'all were honeymooning all over again, weren't you?
Yeah, I was like dating my spouse. It was nuts. Then we lived out there for 5 years. We loved it. When we started having a family, we moved back to the Midwest thinking, oh, cost of living and being around family there. And we lasted 3 years, and we moved back out to California and just felt like our hearts and God was calling us out here. And then we just decided to make this our forever home.
Isn't it such a neat thing whenever you feel called to go somewhere and then you actually do, and then it's like such a peace?
Yes. It felt like, and because we had families in both places, it felt like we could never satisfy, and our hearts were kind of being pulled in different directions. Mm-hmm. And when we were in Indiana, we were like, well, should we go back? And I was like, I don't care what we do. We just need to make a decision and be done and just stick with it and not be in this limbo of, well, maybe we'll go, maybe someday. It's like, no, let's just, if we're going to do it, let's do it and be done with it. And then like, let's put roots down and be satisfied that this is where our forever home is.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So the house that you're living in now, is that where y'all moved to immediately, or did y'all move around a little bit first?
So we moved back out here about a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago actually, and we lived with my brother for 2 weeks until we found a temporary place to live. So then we ended up staying in a condo, which was awesome. It was in a little downtown of a little beach town. It overlooked a marsh that led out into the ocean. It was lovely. We just had fun. My kids still are like, can we go back to the condo? I'm like, well, we own it.
Right.
So we stayed there for 3 months and really spent time looking for this house. Mm-hmm. We looked at over 100 homes.
Oh, wow.
My sister-in-law realtor, she was like, okay, one more home. Our feet to the pavement and checked everything out. We were really picky.
Yeah. And then you found what you love, right?
Yeah, I saw it online and I knew it was the one. And when I went in, I was like, this is the one we're going to do. And we just knew immediately.
It's beautiful for people who haven't seen the pictures of it. And we'll post some pictures. It's so cute. Which I had no idea because I had followed your personal page for a while. And I guess I just never really noticed. And then you started your new page all about your home. And I'm like, look at her house.
It's so cute. Yeah.
I was like, April, we've got to talk to her. Look at her precious house. And so how much of it have y'all changed?
So I really wanted a mid-century modern house because I just love the weirdness and the funky architecture.
Right.
Mm-hmm. We didn't have a lot of those back in Indiana, and I started seeing some of that out here. In California, you'll find every kind of architecture.
Right.
And I was like, I want a funky little mid-century modern house, and I want to put a little modern farmhouse spin on it, but yet keep the mid-century modern. And so this house was built the same year that I was born. So it definitely has that 70s vibe to it. The thing that sold me is at the halfway point in the stairs, there's a landing, and then it splits into 2 stairwells, and then it goes upstairs to our bedrooms, and then another part goes upstairs to this room that they converted the attic into this big room. And so that's my classroom where I teach my students. And it's just like the coolest little room. And that was when I saw it, I was like, yep, I need that. I need that little room. So
yeah, that's so cool.
So what we've done with it, when we walked into the house originally, you walked right into a wall. And I was like, I don't get that. Like, what are you supposed to do with this wall? Like, hello, welcome.
Right.
This wall. Are you kidding me? I couldn't in my head think about how I would even go about decorating that. And so when I saw the house for the first time, I knew exactly what we were going to do to it. And then we just, we did it. We took out all of the walls in the downstairs interior. We put up some posts. We took the kitchen and expanded it into what was originally the dining room. And then we used what was the formal living room as is now the dining room. So we lost a formal living room in the process, which for me, we would have never used a formal living room. I think they're pointless. And so now you walk in and it's one room in the whole main level, but you walk into our kitchen, dining room, living room, and it's all right for everyone to see. And we did the same flooring throughout. We originally thought, oh, we're going to hire this done and this is going to be great. And then we started getting the bids back and we're like, are you kidding? That's not realistic at all. And so we're like, fine, we'll do it ourselves. We'd never done a big remodel like this before, but my dad was owner of a tool store, so we had the equipment. We didn't have the knowledge, and so we're like, okay, YouTube. Like
I was gonna say, you can do anything on YouTube.
My poor husband, he's like, I'm not qualified. I'm like, we're gonna figure this out, and it was way harder than I thought it was gonna be. But I'm so proud we did this. And we're like 90% done, which is why the photos you've seen have probably been like of here and there, not of the whole like, here's our house redone, because we're still working. We still have to put a backsplash up. We still have to do a bunch of things. And so it's in process, but we kind of got burned out and we're like, let's take a break.
Yes.
But yeah, so we've done a lot. Our backyard was a disaster. It was disgusting. It had all these 40-year-old rose bushes that were just like a nightmare when you have children.
Right.
Had these gnarly evergreen things that were just like right out of a Dr. Seuss book that were just disgusting. So I spent so much time last winter just ripping everything out. I had a saw and a mission and it all went. And we put in turf instead of grass because we have bunnies. And so they just destroyed our grass. So we ended up putting in turf and we built a fence and we redid the whole backyard. And that was like right in the middle of our kitchen remodel. We're like, let's do this backyard. And again, they were like, no way we can do this ourselves. So I don't know, like the thought process behind it was just not smart to take a break from the kitchen and then do the entire backyard and then go back to the kitchen. But that's what we did, and our backyard now is like this little oasis, and it was well worth it.
Yeah, your backyard is beautiful, and one of the things that we love in your backyard is your playhouse. So tell us about that.
Thanks. Yeah,
Yes, so-
I had this idea when I bought the house. I walked back there and I'm like, this is where a playhouse is going to go. And Corey, my husband, was just like, okay, like, you have all these ideas, whatever, let's just run with it. And but you do it, you know?
Right.
So I saw this playhouse at Costco, and I'm like, okay, that's a start. I can start with that. I can work with that. And so I bought it, and I'm like, I'm going to give this to the kids for Easter. Of course, like, when I did, they were like, wait, what about, like, the Easter bunny and the baskets? And I was like, whoa, like, where was my head at? I totally missed all of that. Totally forgot. Like, that's what we're supposed to do. Like, happy Easter. They're like, what? This is ridiculous. So, in hindsight, I probably should have just, like, been like, hey, here's your playhouse and your Easter basket. But
they're like, I just wanted some chocolate, Mom.
I'm gonna make it up. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot how this all works. Okay. I ended up starting with that Costco playhouse. I spent a weekend and I just knocked it out. I repainted it. I added a floor. It didn't have a floor. I added like a vertical shiplap in the front because it had like these nasty plastic rock structures. I was like, no, that's going to ruin this. I added a little snack bar to it and opened it up a little bit more. And then I added some window boxes and painted some black touches here and there. So it's cute. I really love it.
It is.
You've totally inspired me. I was telling April earlier, I was like, I've got to do that for my kids because my parents gave them this ugly, it was free to my parents, too.
Thanks, Mom.
Thanks, Mom. But, it was an eyesore in their backyard, so they moved it to mine, so I don't feel bad saying it. This ugly little plastic playhouse, and they play in it every afternoon. They've had it for, 2 months now, and they come home and they say, can we go play in the playhouse? And we're like, yeah, go play in the playhouse, And so we've got to give them a better spot.
Yeah.
So we do love Costco.
I do love a playhouse, but my oldest is 14 now.
Yeah.
My youngest is 5 and would still like a playhouse. We've had one before, but I'm like, I want one in my backyard so bad, and it doesn't make any sense because my kids are getting older, and they don't even fit in a playhouse. The only one that would fit.
Do like an art studio or a doghouse. That's your option.
Yes.
Or wait for grandkids. That's all you can do.
And her 12-year-old would love an art studio.
Lydia would love an art studio.
Yeah.
She would never leave.
That's true. You would not see her anymore.
Ever. If she could read a book and paint in the same space away from the boys, I have 4 sons and 1 daughter, we would never see her again.
So what we can do is you can help me.
Okay.
And then Gideon can come
play at our
playhouse.
They're
neighbors. We live down the street. So yeah, he can come over and
bless
play
him.
with ours.
The youngest, he just doesn't stand a chance.
So I hear you talking about all this DIY stuff that y'all have done. Is decorating and design something that comes natural to you?
Yeah, definitely. It's something I've been interested in my whole life. My aunt was a big inspiration for that. She and I, when we lived back in Indiana, we would just go through barns and dig out all this junk that we thought was just treasures. And I have so much of my house still is from kind of those treasure hunts that we went on. My dining room table that my computer's sitting on, $40 in a barn. This big drawer that I have over here, it turned it into a chalkboard. It's from an old church. I bought 11 of them for $3.33 each. I ended up putting them all into chalkboards and selling them for $75 each. It was a great profit margin.
Yeah.
But I love it. It's the one thing I'll never get rid of that. I think it's just so neat to have history like that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, all of my stuff, even on my shelves back here, they're all from those treasure hunts I went with my aunt. And so that really inspired me to just use old things and have stories in your home, but then to give it new life and to put it in a way where it can be kind of showcased. And it's funny, it's things that I guess didn't always treasure or didn't really think about that now are my favorite things. Mm-hmm. I have a little milk carton thing back here that on the bottom shelf right there.
That's cute.
My great grandfathers used to deliver milk in that.
Oh, I love that.
At one point, it's whatever. But now it's that's a part of my history and a part of my story. And I have some really old Bibles back here that my mom had in a box, and she's like, I'm throwing these out. And I was like, oh, I'll look at them. And I was like, I'll just hang on to these. And the more I started to look at them, it has all of our genealogy written in them, and they were my great grandmothers. And I'm like, oh, how could I have just just get rid of them? Now they're something I would grab in a fire,
Right.
Family Bible. So stuff like that just really inspired me to incorporate that into my house.
What do you remember the most about your childhood home?
Okay, so this is where my story gets crazy. So I've lived in 22 houses in my life. 11 of those have been since I've been married. And so I took a couple of notes about my homes because unless you hear it, the truth of it, it's hard to believe. Okay. So I've lived on a river, a lake, a pond. I've lived on Lake Michigan. I've lived near the Pacific and near the Gulf of Mexico. I've lived in a city, a small town, out in the country, in a valley, on a hill, and in a suburb. I've lived in houses looking out to cornfields and horses, looking out to a forest, out to a park, looking out to mountains. I've lived on the 22nd story. I've lived in an old hotel, in an old nursing home, with a folding partition in my room with the exit sign still going. That's true. I've lived above a Mexican restaurant and in a house with an outhouse as our bathroom.
Wow.
The house that's my absolute favorite is the house that had the outhouse. We did add a bathroom, but that's the one house to this day that when I think of my childhood, I think about it there. It was our second house, so it was just a little cottage on a lake near our home. And ironically, my husband grew up across the lake from us with camping with his grandparents. So we were like swimming in the same water, which I just think is like craziness. We had 400 lakes in our county, so the fact that we were on the same lake, which is just blows my mind. But yeah, our lakes were just such a part of our story growing up, and my childhood was just spent like right there. My parents spent $9,000 on that little place. And it's the one place I wish I owned that I still like dream about all the time. And it was a little bit of nothing, but it was just so important.
What do you hope that your kids will remember about their childhood home?
Yeah, I hope that they remember that this is their safe place, that they can be themselves here, that they are allowed to make mistakes. I hope that they see coziness here, and when they think of their trials in their life that they'll have and their challenges, I hope that they can mentally come back here and just get some restoration. I hope that they incorporate some of the same traditions that we incorporate in this house into their lives. I hope that they see how we're using this house to serve people and to glorify God. And I hope that they do that in their homes growing up too, with their families. I just pray that this is always a place they want to come back to and just have really wonderful memories growing up here, and they want to come back and kind of share that with their family too.
We constantly talk about, and even why we named the podcast Nestled, is that we want home to be a safe place to land and to be a landing place for our family, but also for other people that are outside of our families that we invite into our home, and we want to encourage other people to do the same. And so I love that your description of home is exactly what we want for our own families. And so it's just encouraging to hear other people who have like hearts for that all over, and to hear you advocate for your kids and their different needs that they have and struggles throughout their lives. I know that they feel that, and I also am encouraged by that from you. And so I just think it's really cool to be able to meet other women and to say, yes, amen. Like we are in agreement with everything that you're saying. Okay, so Leslie, who or what inspires you?
In life or in design, or in what way?
Either or.
Either or.
I would say that I have some women in my life that are my age that I've kind of just clung on to as sisters of Christ. We're kind of spread out all over. I met them via social media several years ago, and now we've met in real life, and we are just sisters in Christ. I feel like they're a constant inspiration for me, and they are always pointing me back to the Lord. I don't have a lot of mentors in my life that are older than me, and so I look to them for that mentorship, even though some of them are younger than me. And then it kind of shows me how I want to be a mentor when I grow up. I'm grown up, okay. But yeah, so that would definitely be an inspiration. I get inspired by designers that I see that are also friends of mine that I know personally. I feel like when you know someone personally, you can connect more, and you can see their lives through different lens than just through squares on social media. And so I get inspired by just the personal stories behind their design. I get inspired by other mamas that step out of their comfort zone and they say, you know, we're different, and we approach things differently, whether it be via advocating or what they're bringing into their homes or what they see as priorities, who they're serving. I just appreciate mothers that step out into their faith or just in the advocating of their children and just really put themselves out there to say, whoa, the status quo needs to be challenged here. And we need to really look inside ourselves and say, is this right? Or can we do better? I get inspired by that. We're kind of a family of different. We have a child that has achondroplasia, so she's physically different. We have a child that has ADHD, so he's socially, emotionally different. We are picky about our diet and what we're eating. We kind of go against the grain when it comes to what the country accepts as a standard or as normal, so that kind of makes us different. We do some homeschooling, so that again makes us kind of different. I feel like we're always challenging the status quo, and we're always saying, can we do better? And I feel like Lila, our daughter, has kind of the courage because she can't hide her difference like we can hide some of those other differences. Right. And so now it's like, well, why hide any of our differences? Like, let's just be who we are, and let's glorify God's name, even though society is going to say, well, you're different in doing that. Let's use social media as a platform to help people, whether it's finding Jesus, whether it's having a toxin-free home, whether it's looking at people with differences as a reason to celebrate and not a reason to kind of be taboo about differences. And so I would say other women that can kind of join me on that, or that are already doing that, I get completely inspired by them.
Mm-hmm. And I think we can both give a big resounding thank you, because every single thing that you named, ironically, one of either my family or hers
deals with,
checks with that box. Yeah. And so what a lot of people don't realize about social media, whenever you see the people who are bold and brave out there, is they are real people. And whenever you put yourself out there, it's scary, because especially whenever it involves your kids who are different, it's like, we deal with enough day to day in real life. I don't want to read any negative person's things. You know what I mean? Like, that's really hard to put out there. But by being bold and brave in that, you pave the way for all of the other mamas who come along. And
yeah, absolutely.
And we've been encouraged and been inspired by you to, even to look outside of ourselves and the things that we've struggled along the way. Mm-hmm. And you kind of find your rhythm, but then there are always ways to like do better and to be more intentional with the time with your kids and with what you're allowing in your home and those kind of things. And it's always encouraging to hear other people who are finding success in those ways. And we love to hear about natural resources and things that we can do to help our kids. And so we just appreciate that from you. So you've been an inspiration to us as well. So thank you for that.
Oh, yay. That's awesome. Thank you. And I know just from what I know about Bailey, just with your story, I've been inspired by that. And it's been like adoption has been a seed tucked away in my heart since I was a little girl. And I look at that as an inspiration too. And I'm just like, wait, I need every detail. Like, how did this happen? And oh my goodness. God, it's beautiful. And
thank you.
That's inspiring too. And it's something that hasn't come to fruition for us, but you never know. And that seed is still there, and who knows? So I just love hearing other stories about women that had that seed too, but then they said yes to the Lord and they acted on it. And that's just really encouraging.
Well, thank you. And I think too, social media, especially right now, is getting such a negative rep. And so it's nice to remind people so much good can come out of it, and so many connections can be made. Because without social media, not only would I not know about you, but we wouldn't know about your daughter. And that y'all were such an encouragement to us when we were adopting Maisie, and we had a word on a paper, and we were like, what is life going to look like with our yes? And so even in that, we can say thank you to you for being part of the encouragement behind being able to say, yes, we can do this. Yeah. This is going to be just normal life. We've got this.
Right. And there's so much negative, and I hear even people saying, I'm getting off of social media because of X, Y, and Z. And not to say that that's wrong in and of itself, but there's so much good that can come from it. And like this community of people and how the world is open to us. I mean, we've been able to talk to people from across the world, and social media has made that possible. And we can be encouraged and inspired, and it doesn't have to be something that we play the comparison game. And we know, like, every time I'm posting a picture of my home, it's gonna be the best of what's there is to offer, But like at the same time, I don't want to be unrealistic about the fact that there are piles of laundry in the hall. Like that's real life. And that's okay too.
And other people have that too.
Right.
So you just have to remember that. Yeah.
I think it's so hard to find that balance of knowing what to post as far as, am I sending the right message by posting this? Because I have such an artistic and creative point of view. That's just who I am. And so it's hard because I am a perfectionist in that, knowing like, is it okay that I'm having this vision and this kind of, I'm putting together this kind of look? Is that okay if it's kind of curated? Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And so I struggle with that. And so I try in my words to really put the truth and the real, and it is real. I mean, these are pictures of my home for real.
Right.
But I think that it's hard to find that balance because I don't want to give anyone an idea of, you need to do this in order to be accepted or loved, or you need to look like this, or your house needs to be like this too. I think about social media is, I just think for people that are saying that, I think that there are ways to filter, and I think it's up to the individual to monitor what you're putting in front of your eyes. And if it is not sending you and pointing you towards the Lord, or towards good or towards encouraging, then you're following or looking at the wrong thing. And I would say in that case, you need to filter, and you need to only put in your cup what is building you up and not tearing you down. And so I think, I try to encourage women to just be careful with what you put before your eyes. It will influence you. And so are you putting things that are helpful, or are you putting things that are hurtful? And so I think that social media is amazing, but you have to have discipline in it.
Yes. And you have control over your feed.
Right.
You do. Just unfollow. Okay, so Leslie, where do you love to shop?
I've a lot of my house is from just junk places. My favorite things, I have a little local store here that I love called Studio 1220. It's just right across the street, and they are like total boho, like deserty, awesome kind of unique home goods. They sell clothes too. Love that because it's really unique, and it kind of takes my house from modern farmhouse, which it is, but I don't want it to be just such modern farmhouse. I want it to have inspirations from mid-century modern and some industrial pieces to kind of bring in that masculine sense for my husband. And I like to bring in some of that boho too. So I really like that. And then I do tablescapes all the time, and my tablescapes are in my events and my parties that I do. I get a lot from the Dollar Tree because you can get a lot of things, and it doesn't cost that much. And so after the party, if you're done with them, I pass them on or throw them away or whatever, and I don't worry about it. And so I get a lot of my stuff there. Let's see, Target. But yeah, I don't know. It's a really hodgepodge and collection of just a lot of different places. But my favorite things are kind of from just places that I just pulled out of nothing. So
Yeah.
Leslie, literally, if someone was interviewing us,
That's exactly what we would say. Have you seen Nacho Libre? Whenever he's talking to the girl that he likes and he says, all of the things that you just said, those are my favorite things too.
Yeah, but seriously, when you describe your style, I'm like, well, that sounds like our style. And then you talk about the Dollar Tree and then being able to throw it away. I'm like, every event we do, we're like, this is a Dollar Tree event, so we can toss it all out the window whenever it's done. So and Target. So we have more in common than I even knew.
Yeah.
So where can our listeners find you on the internet?
Okay, so I have a blog called Dream Big Little One that kind of talks about my journey with Lila. It starts with our diagnosis at 33 weeks when I was 33 weeks pregnant, and kind of goes through our first couple of years and our journey with her. I stopped writing on that several years ago because it started gaining a lot of attention, honestly. And then I felt like I was writing for people and not writing for me or her. And so I just kind of freaked out and just set that aside as this is here and available, and people still use that resource, but I just don't feel good adding to it anymore. It's kind of, we're kind of at a point in our lives now where that part of our story has changed a little bit, and just that she's getting older, and And so it doesn't feel like this, like how it once did. It used to be such a big burden on my heart, and I didn't know how to react. I didn't know. And now it's just such normal life, you know?
Right.
So that's something that a lot of women that get that diagnosis, they go to and can kind of have some inspiration and some motivation of that they can do this too. So I keep it for that reason. I have another blog called Cozy by the Sea, and that blog I took a break when we did our renovation, but I'm going to start writing on that again. And it's more me of who I am, and it has my DIY, and it has my parties that I do, and it has some motherhood and parenting stuff. And then my Instagram is at Cozy by the Sea Lifestyle, where I'm kind of showing my house, my DIY, parenting, the things that are going to be on my blog. And then my personal Instagram is at Leslie A. Spencer. And that's just kind of shows our everyday life. And I talk a lot on there about awareness for dwarfism and just mothering and parenthood, all that good stuff.
Well, thank you so much for chatting with us today.
Thank you for your time.
And I want to talk again soon about all the things that we talked about.
I know.
I want to dig deeper with you because I have a lot of questions. So.
Yes.
Anytime.
For sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
You guys, we forgot to do Love It or Leave It with Leslie, and it would have been so good.
I know. We really wish we were able to hear her answers.
Yeah. So we're going to do it with one another again. Love it or leave it.
Sorry. Love it or leave it. That's what you're getting today.
So our theme for Love It or Leave It today, we've been doing a lot of antique shopping for a couple of clients and have spent a lot of time in these stores the last week.
Yes.
And so we're going to go antique style today. And things that you would find in an antique store, love it or leave it. So the first one I'm going to ask you, Bailey, love it or leave it, an antique bust.
Love it. I've never actually found one in any of the stores whenever we're shopping. If I ever do and I can afford it, I'm going to get one. It's something that I've wanted for my house, but I only ever find like plastic versions of it.
Right.
And I don't want a plastic version.
You don't want a cheap one.
I want a real one.
Yeah.
So if you ever find one and you need to give me a Christmas gift.
Look, I wonder if there's a place you could have one made. If you could have one made of Justin.
Oh my gosh, he would love that so much. I know that would be so strange, but like he would love that. That would be like the best gift I ever gave to him.
We need to research that.
We do.
Okay.
Oh man, that would be the creepiest thing. But yeah, he would think it was fantastic. Okay, love it or leave it, globes.
Globes, love it. All day. I will take all the globes. I will find a way to display them. We actually have a problem with maps and globes.
Yes.
Lance and I are both so drawn to them that we could fill our entire house with them and never think it was weird. And then all of a sudden I start going, I think we might need to back off.
We may have overdone the maps and the globes a little bit. Yeah.
Okay, so love it or leave it, an antique robe.
Oh my gosh, leave it. Leave it. You know this.
Any kind of clothes.
Anything that is clothing, and especially if it is white and it is in an antique store, it immediately gives me the heebie-jeebies. I cannot. And I blame Casper. Do you know what I'm talking about? At the end of Casper, when you see his mom and she's like in the weird dressing gown.
No.
Okay, well, scarred for life.
Okay.
So leave those. What about, on the same line, the antique like strollers, like the
leave
black.
it. They're so creepy. They remind me of the Rockabye Baby in the treetop when the bough breaks, the cradle will fall. It's like, why are we dropping babies out of trees? That's what they remind me of, like an old horror movie.
Or like you can just picture like going by itself.
Yes,
you know,
with nobody pushing it. It's just like rolling along. Yeah. Okay, so love it or leave it, antique flowers. You know, like the like
dried ones?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not against dried flowers if they have a meaning to me. So I don't necessarily want to just like go buy a bunch of dried arrangements, but like I can appreciate a dried wedding bouquet. I would love to have an antique one that was like my grandmother's.
Right.
But I don't want like a random grandmother's.
Yeah. That could be weird.
I guess leave it at the antique store. Okay, what about like old portraits?
Okay, this is a hard one because some of my favorite designers use a lot of antique portraits and I hate them. I hate them. I think
can
they're
be-
so creepy.
Well, it's back then, like, everybody had dead eyes in their
Everyone
pictures.
had dead eyes. Also, they just are always they look dead.
Right.
I don't know how else to
And you don't know who this
describe it.
person was,
And
and you've
who-
got overlooking your
They
family.
might
That could
be
be the
a
worst.
bad person.
Yeah.
And I don't like any kind of portraits that aren't of my family.
Right.
Or people that I know. I don't want
Right.
any other people in my house hanging.
Right. Fair enough.
Okay. Love it or leave it. I'm drawing a blank. Hold on, let me think for just a second.
I've got one.
Okay.
Caneback chairs, because all the antique stores are pulling out their caneback.
I was going to
Caneback
say
chairs
that one
right now.
earlier and I forgot. Okay, caneback chairs, I love them.
Yeah.
I know that they will probably go out again.
Yeah. But for today,
For today,
they're
I
our
love them.
favorite.
I actually love them natural. A lot of them are painted, and I do like them painted, but I prefer them natural right now. But I'm also
Same.
in this weird, like, leave all the wood
right.
stage, which is so bizarre from a year ago.
I know. I don't know what's wrong with this. We just
Love it or leave it. Antique rugs. This is a hard one for me.
if it's clean enough, love it. Also, if it was cheap enough, because I cannot be responsible for like a $3,000 rug
No.
in my house with my family.
Yeah. And, the older rugs it seems like the more expensive they are if they're real antiques.
Yeah.
But also, I'm a little weirded out by all the dirt. Because
Right, and
how do you
like-
get those things clean enough?
That's true. And like, did you like 2,500 years ago somebody cut their nails on it? You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like, I don't need other people's nasty. Yeah, I like to toss my rugs when I'm done with them, and I would like to buy new ones. That's true.
Yeah.
Because I don't need your junk and
But
your dead skin cells. And
They
your,
do look really lovely.
yeah.
But I don't think that I could have one.
But you don't often find them.
No. I mean,
At
you
the
have to
places
go.
we are looking.
We're not looking at the places that have the $10,000 carpets imported from Italy. But,
Yeah. So, okay.
Okay. Well, good
Sorry
work.
that you didn't get to hear from Leslie.
She would have
Just
been
of
far more
us.
interesting,
yes.
I'm sure.
Yes, for
But
sure.
she did say some really great things, and we
She did.
were encouraged by her, and we hope that you guys are going to be encouraged by the interview that you just heard as well. And the one thing that we always want to leave you with is a point of action. So what do you say the point of action is from our interview with Leslie?
Just be yourself unapologetically. If you're going to put yourself out there, just put yourself out there who you are.
Right. Don't look to the side.
Yep.
Look ahead and know where you're going and just be true to who you are.
Yeah, I think that she is such a great example of somebody who's leading their family in that way. Like, this is what we like. This is what we want. These are our needs. These are our people. Like, she has a clearly defined path that they're headed down, and they're just doing it. And I find that really inspiring.
Me
So,
too. Own your truth.
Own your truth. So thanks, Leslie.
All right.
And thanks, everybody, for listening.
As always, you can find us at Nestled Podcast on Instagram and poshnessdesigns.com.
And if you like what you hear, please subscribe on iTunes and leave us a review so that other people can keep finding our show.
Yep. Thanks for listening.
Thanks. Bye, guys.
Bye.